Hi, my name is Thomas Foster and that's another episode of a multi-part tutorial on Apple's Logic Pro 10.5. In this episode we take a look at the instruments, that means the sound generators of Logic 10.5. The synthesizers, the samplers, the drum machines and all the instruments that imitate real instruments. So have fun. So the easiest way to load a sound in Logic is with the library. We click on mallet and now we click on marimba and the marimba is loaded. But in fact, what really is loaded is an instrument called sampler, and in the sampler is loaded the samples of a marimba phone. That's why we can hear it, and in additional we have loaded some effects. So let's bypass the effect, and now you can load directly, instead of loading sounds of the library, you can directly load some instruments into the channel of Logic Pro. Let's start with the synthesizers. So we click on Instruments and we start with the Retro Synth, one of my favorite synths because it's so clear and easy. We have here the oscillator, a filter, the envelope for the volume and the filter, and some LFO and effects. Let's take first a look to the oscillator. There are two oscillators, shape 1 and shape 2, and we can mix them. Let's give the mixer to oscillator 1 and let's start here some music. Alright, we can change here the sound of the oscillator 1, for example, to a noise generator. We can shape the sound with this pulse mod here. Okay, and now we have the oscillator 2. Let's listen to oscillator 2. There are closely the same sounds, especially this one is different. But what we also can do is we can pitch the second sound. For example, in semitones, 12 semitones up, that means 1 octave. And now we can mix the low octave of oscillator 1 with oscillator 2. Or with a double click we come back, we can pitch it in sense a little bit up or down. And now let's mix it and see what's happening. We can give it up 7 semitones. So we can make interesting things to make an interesting sounds. Let's pitch it down a little bit. Alright, the next thing we have here is the filter. We turn it on and off, and we have different modes. With a low pass filter we can cut the high frequencies. We do this here with the cut off. We can do it here with this number or directly in the graphic. Let's listen. If we add a little resonance, we get this little hill here and we hear a little bit clearer how it's moving. Okay, let's turn it off. Let's take a look here to the amp envelope. Here we control the volume. We have 4 parameters: attack, decay, sustain and release. The short way to say ADSR. The easiest is the release. What is happening if I release the key? How long does it need until the sound is gone? We have the same in the beginning of the sound, the attack. We have decay and sustain. How long does it take until it reaches the sustain? Let's bring the sustain down to the bottom, to 0. And now we change the decay, the time, how long it needs to be there. Let's bring up the sustain. Okay, and we have the same controls for the filter. So we can bring down the sustain of the filter. Let's bring down the filter a little bit. How much the envelope controls the filter, we can set here with this envelope knob. Yeah, we have a LFO, a vibrato, a flanger effect. We have here the possibility to glide the sound. I like this very much, but herefore we need slower notes. Let's listen to this one here. Let's turn on the glide, and now we set the time up to 600. Now it's moving from one note to the next note, fast or slow. And then we have different synthesizers, the analog, the sync, the table. This is close to the PPG. This one is maybe a little bit closer to the Mini Moog synthesizer. And this is made like the FM7 of Yamaha. I had one FM7 of Yamaha. I never will understand why I sold it. But now it's gone. Oh, too bad. But now I have the retro synth. Alright, let's take a look to another synthesizer. The biggest and fattest in Logic is the Alchemy. I love the Alchemy, it's amazing. We have here 3 windows. We start with the browser. Here you can browse your sounds. You can say, I want to have mallet-like sound, but it's not real instruments. It's always a synthesizer, but also you have synthesizers sounding a little bit mallet-like. And now you can double click them here to load them. Let's go to leads and load a lead instrument. Okay, on a simple page, you have this knob here where you can change the sound. And you see, if I go from here to there, all the knobs are moving and changing the sound. Even some knobs that we don't see right now. And you can automate this, so you can bring a lot of action to your sounds. There is also the advanced page. Here you have access to all the possibilities to shape your sound. For example, the ADSR that we already had in the last synthesizer. But let's close it because we want to take a look at some other stuff. When it comes to synthesizer, I like the retro synth and the Alchemy. All the other synthesizers are a little bit old. I think the first synthesizer of Logic was the ES1. Sometimes it's funny to have very easy sounds, so sometimes it's funny to work with a synthesizer like this, but I think they are not so important because the retro synthesizer and the Alchemy is much better. So you have the ensemble synth, the polyphonic synth, monophonic, the ES2. Maybe interesting is the sculpture synthesizer. It's a modeling synth. It's not so easy to understand how you edit it, but there are nice presets. Listen to this. Let's play something a little bit faster here. Yeah, funny stuff. Very nice. And also here you can load all your presets here organized in groups. Wonderful. Let's take a look to the drums. there is a total new drum set here. Let's create a new track. It's the Drum Machine Designer. Let's go down here, Drum Machine Designer. It looks like this. If it's loaded, Drum Machine Designer, you see just 3 letters. There's no possibility to load a sound while you are in this plugin, but if you are here active on kit controls or empty kit, you can load the kits from the library. Very easy. Let's start with Dusty Drums. And now let's create something. First of all, we have some controls here. If we go to kit controls for the complete drum set. For example, drive or crush, transient. We have a high cut filter, low cut filter. But whatever we do is just a remote control of our audio effects here. For example, if I turn on the delay here with a click on this button, you will see that the audio effect delay is active. Tuck. Again, on, off, on, off. And if I move the slider, then you will see that we do nothing else than controlling these faders here. But it's easier to have everything on one page, so you can do things faster as you open all the plugins and work in the plugins. So it's nice to have the kit control. I think more interesting is if we click on the pad controls. I can activate now the snare by clicking on the snare. Maybe we should solo now the snare. Here we are. Now I can shape the sound. I can pitch it up or down with it. So I can make the bottom stronger or lighter. I can high cut the sound. I can make some distortion on it. I can control the transient, the length. I can add some reverb. And again, what we are controlling are the audio effects that are here, because here we have now a separate channel just for the snare. So we can also add some effects here on the snare. Maybe, what can we do? Let's take the pitch shifter on the snare. That could be crazy. Pitch shifter is not made for drums, so but was just a test. Okay, and yes, you can load your own samples. You can drop any wave file from the Finder, from the Explorer, or from Logic directly on these slots. So this is perfect for changing drum sounds. If you want to change one of these sounds, simply click on the sound and then you get in the library different sounds and just click on it to load it. And now the new snare is loaded, but still we have the other drum sounds. Yeah, very nice. The Drum Machine Designer comes new with Logic 10.5, but there is something else when it comes to real drums that was already there in an older version of Logic, and that's the drummer. Let's load the drummer. We create a new track with the drummer, and now let's close this one here because here it's a little bit nicer. we want to add a groove to this track. So we click on this plus here and we immediately get here this drum machine. Let's create a loop. We click here at 1 and move it to 9. And with this machine, we can shape the groove. Means what the drummer is playing. That's pretty cool. We can make it loud and soft. And this is not the volume, it's how loud is the drummer playing. Let's listen. We can make it playing very complex or very simple. We can change the instruments. Now we play more on the toms or more on the crashes. We have here some controls. Here we have more details. We can make more ghost notes. We can make it with a shuffle. We can add more fills. We can load other different kinds of playing this groove, right? And you can change the drummer. Well, that's pretty cool. Let's open the library and there we see we have now from the category rock Kylie playing. But maybe we want to listen to Logan, change drummer. Very cool. And again, we can make it simple, complex. And we can copy this and then change the settings for every pattern. But what is also very nice, we can click this pattern here and go to convert and convert it to a MIDI file. And then you see every note. And now we can edit the notes. Let's change the snare here to this tom. Or let's move it a little bit. And you can totally change the sound because the sound comes from the drum kit. So we double click this here. And we can load another drum kit. We can click on the snare to tune it a little bit. Let's go back to the first kit. Because here we can also change the snare drum. We click on the snare drum and there's a lot of fun. Just click through it and see what you like. It's really great to play with this a little bit. This is enough about the topic drums. Let's take a look to the instruments that imitates real instruments. What do we have? Let's close the library and now we go here to our instrument slot to load another instruments. We have here some vintage instruments. We start with the Mellotron. The Mellotron was an instrument that really existed. On every key was a tape machine playing with a real tape, a real recording of a real instrument. It was crazy. And with this you could play some notes of a violin. And the funny thing on this instrument is not that it sounds so good. The great thing is that it sounds so bad. It sounds like the Mellotron that was big in the 60s, 70s, really sounded. Famous, for example, is this flute sound. You can hear it in the intro of the Beatles' Strawberry Fields Forever. So if you want to have a really retro sound that sounds really dirty and crazy, then try to find something, try one of the presets of the Mellotron, vintage Mellotron. Very important, the vintage electric piano. In club music, in pop music. Very important, the electronic piano. Simply click through the presets and try a little bit to shape your sound. Oh, we have to turn it on. Yeah, now we hear it. And so on. Yeah. What else do we have? We have the clarinet. Stevie Wonder loved to play the clarinet. All right. What else do we have? The organ. Also here you have great presets that you can walk through to find something that you like. The Ultra Beat is the old drum machine, but let's go to the studio strings. So in fact, there are better plugins on this planet to copy orchestra strings like Bitfire Audio or the Berlin strings. They are very expensive. The studio strings of Logic Pro are maybe the best strings of all DAWs. So you don't have so good strings in Ableton, in FL Studio, in Pro Tools or whatever. So really great sound. Here violins, and you can go to cellos, disco strings. You can change the articulation. So there's a lot you can do with this to make really great string sounds. The horns, pretty cool. The trumpet, saxophone, baritone, trombone, or R&B section. And again, you have different articulations, falls, shakes. Yeah, a lot you can do with it. So this was a short overview of the most important instruments of Logic Pro 10.5. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel that you get informed if I make a new video to Logic Pro 10.5 for beginners. Thank you for watching. Always stay creative. Cheers. My name is Thomas Foster, and if you like producing music, then you probably need regular audio loops. So good sounding drum loops, percussion, guitar, vocal, and many other samples. And there is a new exciting web page I'm involved in developing, MUGENT.com. MUGENT is a search engine for audio loops and samples. The stuff sounds really great and is well produced and mastered. The incredible thing is that although MUGENT actually sees itself as a web shop, at the moment almost all sounds are free. You do not have to enter an email address, just go to mugent.com, search for the desired audio file and click download. And it's really fun to work with. At that point I say thank you for being there, always stay creative, cheers!